2022 for me was a lovely year. While sadly it was a very sad year for a lot of people, as a lot of people sadly passed away, such as Jason David Frank, and a lot of other people had died. But 2022 was a pretty good year. Summer 2022 was lovely, and I can't believe the year is coming to an end already. In terms of movies, there were a few that were just awful, some that were just okay, some that could have been a lot better. And while I did like the three MCU movies this year, I just found them to be very flawed. Same with Turning Red. It was a decent film, but just very, very simplistic to me. But not bad by any means. But the ones that were great were really great. Unfortunately, Puss in Boots 2 The Last Wish isn't going to be on my 2022 list, as sadly over here in Ireland, the movie doesn't come out until February 3rd, 2023. Even Babylon, that's not out until January 2023 over here. But today, I'm going to be talking about my top 5 best and worst movies of 2022. But first, here are my honourable mentions, which are Lyle Crocodile, The Sea Beast, The Batman, Lightyear, and Strange World. Alright, here we go. Let's begin with the worst list. So, coming in at number 5 on the worst list is DC League of Super Pets. Now, I wasn't really that surprised when I watched the movie that I didn't really like it because I had heard a lot of mixed things about it. Some were saying it sucked, some were saying it wasn't very good. A lot of people had said the movie was very mediocre, and I agree. This film is very, very mediocre. The storyline is really, really weak. A lot of the characters are not very good. The main villain was awful. And a lot of the music wasn't all that great either. There is some jokes are funny, but most of them do fall flat. There is some decent enough animation, and credit where credit is due, I don't think it would make it the worst franchise ever, and it's not the worst movie I've seen all year, but when I went to go see it, I didn't like it. I just thought the movie was not very good. I just don't think it's a very good film. And while I can see some people liking it, it just wasn't for me. It just didn't do it for me. I just didn't think it was a very good movie. And it's not, again, not the worst thing, but it's definitely one that I have at number 5 on my worst list. So, coming in at number 4 on the worst list is Tyler Perry's A Medea Homecoming. This was one I didn't review actually, but when I watched it, oh god, I thought it sucked. The story was boring, most of the dialogue was really, really unfunny, the music wasn't very good, and most of the characters were pretty poorly written too. While the Mrs. Brown cameo was pretty cool, that was quite funny. There were some funny lines of dialogue that weren't hysterical, but they were chuckle-worthy. But that was the only positives I really had with the movie. I wouldn't call it the worst movie ever made, but it's a film I wouldn't watch again. And I remember when it came out, a few people had praised it, but a lot of people didn't like it. And when it first came out, I only saw a bit of it. But then during the Easter break of 2022, I finally got around to watching the whole thing, and I thought it sucked. So yeah, not the worst film ever made, but it's a movie that I definitely don't want to watch again. That's one thing for sure. Coming in at number 3 on the worst list is Chicken Hair and the Hamster of Darkness. Another movie I didn't review, but I did watch with my friend, and oh lord, is this one horrible. The animation, to be fair, is pretty nice, and the music is actually pretty good, and there is some decent voice performances for the main villain and Skunk, but other than that, the storyline is awful. It's boring and terribly written, along with some absolutely horrible dialogue, and the characters are just awful, and I didn't care for a single one of them. My god, is this film awful. When I watched it, me and my friend agreed it was just horrible. It was horrible to watch. And yeah, easily one of the worst I've seen all year, and it's definitely one that I am for sure not watching again. Okay, at number 2 on the worst list, The Adventures of Buck Wild, the Ice Age 6 film. Oh my god. Ice Age 4 and 5 were terrible in my book. But this one is the worst of the bunch. The storyline is terrible, the characters are very poor, the animation is shockingly cheap, and the music ain't very good either. Oh god, when I watched this back in January, oh god, I was appalled with how bad it was. And similar to my reaction for my number one spot, I was lost, and I mean lost for words with how bad this one was. My god, Ice Age 6 or The Adventures of Book Wilder, whatever it's called, is the worst in the franchise in my book, like I said. It's just, God, I was shocked with it. And I mean, shocked. And that's why I have it as the worst animated film of the year. But the number one spot on the worst list. Honestly, I'm so shocked with how a movie like this is this bad. Morbius. Oh my god. The storyline was terrible. It was really not that interesting. Okay, credit where credit is due. The acting wasn't too bad. The effects weren't too bad. That was it. But other than that, this film was honestly the worst live action movie I've ever seen. And I feel that because it's just shocking to me how a movie like this, which is meant to be a spin off to Spider Man, is this bad. Like, I was so shocked at how bad this one was. The acting, like I said, that wasn't too bad, but the characters were just awful. And the music, not very good either. And I didn't really like all the action. The action kind of sucked in my book. The one thing I did find interesting was the post-credit scene with the vulture. That was pretty cool. I know it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense, but I did find that to be interesting to say the very least. But my goodness, I was so shocked with how bad this film is. And oh my god, I'm just, wow, is this movie just, it is terrible. And that's why, in my book, Morbius is the worst movie of 2022. And now we begin the best list. So coming in at number 5 on my best list is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. Now, a lot of people would call this to be the best animated film of the year, and I can definitely see why. But personally, I just like the story and the characters a bit more in the other animated film that's on my list. I still really like this film though. I thought the storyline was lovely, it was very charming, the animation was absolutely beautiful and fantastic, the characters were very solid, and the music was lovely. My only issues were that I felt some characters could have had a bit more screen time. I also think the movie did drag a little bit in areas, and I do think sometimes the story was a little hard to keep track of. Having that said though, this is a very good movie, and I definitely think that if I am to watch the film again, which I most likely will watch again, I think I probably will end up liking it more than I did the first time. Having that said, it's a great movie and I definitely recommend it, and it's definitely one that deserves to be on my list. Coming in at number 4 on the best list, Avatar 2 The Way of Water. Yeah, I know, might be a little lower than a lot of people expected, and I can understand. But for me, I just enjoyed the top 3 movies on my list just slightly more. I really liked this film. I thought Avatar The Way of Water was a fantastic film. It was very, very long, but I feel once you got into the film started to go by. I thought the storyline was very well written, it was very tragic in areas, the action was fantastic, the characters were really good, and overall, it was just a fantastic movie, and I definitely enjoyed it more to the first one. I do think at times the frame rate was a bit weird, and sometimes it looked like I was watching a video game cutscene, but other than that, I think this is an excellent movie, and I definitely believe, objectively, Avatar The Way of the Water is probably the best film of 2022. Coming in at number 3 on my best list is Top Gun Maverick. Now this film was fantastic. This was a great movie. The character development was excellent, the storyline was fantastic, the cinematography was amazing, and the music was really good too. During the first half of the movie, I was saying to myself, I don't know if this could be as good as the first one, but after that, it was even better than the first one. A great sequel and a great film, and definitely, in my book, the best live action film of 2022. Coming in at number two is The Bad Guys. Yeah, I definitely believe The Bad Guys is the best animated film of the year. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually have become a bit of a fan of this film, and I genuinely have grown an attachment to these characters. The storyline is fun, it's got its heart in the right place, it's got good humour, some jokes do fall flat, but overall, it's a very well written story. It doesn't have like the emotional weight of the How to Train Your Dragon trilogy, it's more like over the hedge, it's just a simple comedy, but the story, like I said, is a lot of fun. The animation is very nice, except for the human designs. The human designs are just lazy. But the characters themselves are great. They have great chemistry, great dialogue, and very good banter between one another, and the character development is really good. I love the character of Diane Foxington. She is an amazing character and definitely one of my new favorite DreamWorks females, one of my new favorite fictional characters of all time. Oh my god, what an amazing character. Just wow, DreamWorks knocked out of the park with her character. And I'm probably the only one to say this, but I'm actually a really big fan of the plot twist villain. I personally didn't actually find it to be predictable. I really liked what they did with the plot twist villain. There is a few issues with the movie. It's not perfect, and I wouldn't quite call it a masterpiece, but it's a very, very, very fun film, and it's one that honestly keeps getting better for me the more I watch it. Well done, DreamWorks. Great movie. Coming in at number one, well, this may surprise a few people, but for me, the best film of 2022, Sonic the Hedgehog 2. Yes, this film, to me, was a masterpiece. I wasn't all that big of a fan of the first film. I like it, it's a decent film, but I don't think it's great. But the second film is a big improvement. The story is more engaging, the humor is a lot better, the acting is better, the character development is better. Sonic, Tails, and Knuckles are really good characters. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik is a great antagonist. And let's not forget the man himself.
He's back. He's back!
The legendary Agent Stone, who, by the way, looks a lot like one of my teachers in school, and that guy's a legend too. But I actually really like Agent Stone as a character. He's great in this movie. This film just felt more like what a Sonic the Hedgehog movie should be, more like the first one. You don't need to watch the first one, I don't think, to understand this film. This film really works as a standalone, and I'm very, very excited to see what they do with the third movie in 2024. So yeah, I'm proud to call Sonic the Hedgehog 2 the best film of 2022.
Papa's got a brand new stash.
I can't believe 2022 is over, but it was a very nice year. 2023, there is a lot to be excited about as I'm going to be graduating school. That's probably the thing that I'm so hyped about this year. But as far as films go, I am very, very, very hyped for Puss in Boots 2: The Last Wish. I am so excited. As far as 2023 movies go, I think my most anticipated is probably Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. But even then, a lot of the other movies are very exciting too. The Mario movie, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, Ant-Man 3, and many more. So here's to the best, and here's to hoping for a great year in 2023. Happy New Year, everyone, and I wish you all that is wonderful in 2023. Take care, guys, and skadoosh.
This is gonna be fun.
I'm scrapping it. I am Puss in Boots.